Hello and welcome to Beyond the Bio, the recap. Today we are doing a recap on the show from Monday where I was chatting to Joanna Feeley, who is the founder and CEO of TrendBible, a futures agency predicting the future of life at home. As a trend forecaster, Jo and her team have advised retailers, brands, charities, investors and governments all over the world. The reason why I had Jo on the show this week was actually a follow-up from a show that we put out a few weeks ago with Peter Neal, where we were talking about how to become a non-executive director. That show had loads of downloads, so if you've missed that and you're interested in taking on a role as a non-executive director, then you should definitely go back and check out that show. We will link it in the show notes. We'll also link Monday's show with Jo so that this episode makes more sense. So I'm really enjoying doing these recap episodes because I think it's really important to listen to something but not just consume it, actually go and do something with it, because it's so easy for all of us to just consume content. And I'm guilty of this myself and think, oh, I should do something with that or have some kind of thought. And then I just kind of forget about it and get sucked into the next thing. So I'm really keen with these recap episodes to actually have that reflection time and share a few thoughts about that particular topic, but also try and encourage everyone, myself included, to commit to taking an action as a result. So we had a great chat on the show about non-executive roles. Jo has had two quite long stints, actually. She'd done 2 6-year stints with 2 very different charities. And what I really liked about the conversation with Jo, and actually just about her experience, was that she committed fully to those roles. So typically, particularly for charities, you take on a 3-year stint, and this can usually be renewed at least twice. Some charities will allow you to do 3 terms of 3 years, so it does vary slightly. And Jo did the 2 terms of 3 years. So she saw that through, she committed to that, which was something that I spoke about to Peter on that previous episode. So it's great to see that level of commitment, but I think it was really interesting to see then how Jo linked it to her own performance in those roles. So the first stint was very much learning about being a non-executive director, what were the roles and responsibilities, and understanding those organizations to then actually deliver more effectively in her second term. And I think for one of them, she was talking about how she became chair in her second term and how she was able to contribute in that role. The other thing that was really interesting was hearing Jo talk about her preference to be a reflector and being a bit of an introvert, and how she was unsure whether that would suit the role of chair, but actually it worked really well, and how the pandemic actually challenged her way of learning and her way of operating and made her develop new skills so that she was able to react to things at pace. That was really interesting. There was so much that you could take away from that episode with Jo. And I think what I'm going to suggest as this week's action point, given that we didn't have these recap episodes back when I first spoke to Peter Neal around becoming a non-executive director, I'm going to make an assumption that if you've listened to this recap episode and you've listened to the episode with Jo, and you've probably listened to the episode with Peter too, or you're going to go back and listen to it because you've got an interest in taking on a non-exec role. So my challenge this week is going to be to think about, have you got time in your schedule to take on a non-exec role, bearing in mind all of the responsibilities that we now know are involved in terms of the time commitment, going through the application process, the fact that it's not just rocking up to the meetings 4 times a year, actually it's all the reading, there might be more frequent meetings, you might be on a committee. So it's doing a bit of an audit to see whether you have the time available to commit to taking on one of these roles initially. Presuming that you do have that time, then today's action point is going to be to start searching for roles. So it might be that you put something out there on LinkedIn saying that you're open to these roles and perhaps highlighting the types of roles you want. So is it a non-exec role within a growing business that you're going to expect to get paid for? Is it more of a charity role, which would be voluntary? But in that case, you need to be sharing what kinds of charities you're interested in. So what kind of topics are the ones that are going to really float your boat? So putting it out there possibly on your LinkedIn. It might be signing up for alerts. So we talked about the experience bank that Peter runs. So if you're based in the Northeast, that would be a great place to start and sign up with them and look for roles. I think Jo said that she saw her first role advertised in the Times. So maybe sign up for their alerts because they get a lot of the charity jobs in particular, but also a load of non-exec roles. So looking at what is available there in terms of signing up to a mailing list where you're going to get alerts for these kind of roles. You might also just want to pop a search in for non-executive jobs and see what pops up, because this is going to show you what's available in your region. It might show you a particular recruitment agency that headhunts for these roles. So who is it in your area? Can you then start connecting with these people on LinkedIn? Maybe arrange a coffee, have a bit of a chat about what have they got on their books at the moment? What is it that you're interested in? And I was going to suggest some other action points linked to this, but actually I think that's probably enough to whet the appetite to get a bit of focus and get thinking about how you are going to find the time to commit to one of these roles, but also where you're going to find one, because that's the first step. And then you might want to think about the application process and any support that you need with that. So I hope that's been useful. I hope it's given a bit of food for thought and that you are raring to go with searching for a non-executive role. As always, let me know how you get on and good luck.